If you are struggling to build wealth, it's probably not because you're not making enough money. It's probably because you are making one, if not more, of the 5 biggest mistakes people make when it comes to building wealth. And some of these are so simple, yet people still continue to make them. And the 5th one is something even the world's wealthiest elites fall victim to that can cost them millions. It's crucial to your financial success that you learn how to avoid these. And first, thinking that high income equals wealth. If I just made more money, I'd be set. That's what most people think, but it's completely false. The reality is, I have met many doctors, nurses, lawyers, and corporate executives making multiple 6 figures that are still living paycheck to paycheck. If you take a look at this chart from Bank of America, you will notice that in 2024, 20% of people making over $150,000 a year are living paycheck to paycheck. Now, you might be asking yourself, but how? How is that possible? Well, have you ever heard of the old term, the more you make, the more you spend? Building wealth isn't about how much you make, it's about how much you keep. Well, if you make more money, but you continue to increase your lifestyle and increase your spending, you are running on a hamster wheel with no end in sight. You've got to focus on building assets that generate passive income, not just increasing your salary. For example, think of all of the famous athletes that have made millions of dollars in their career but go broke quickly after, such as Vince Young, Antoine Walker, and yes, even Mike Tyson, compared to people that are making maybe 50, 60, 70,000 a year, but retire as millionaires because of proper planning. I'm always reminded of a young couple that I met years ago in the beginning of my career. They were in their early 20s. Collectively together, they were bringing in about $80,000 a year between the two of them. However, in their early 20s, they had $150,000 saved because they turned every activity into a game and an opportunity to save money. It's all about proper planning. Mistake number 2, only relying on 401ks and traditional investments. My job offers me a 401k, so I must be set for retirement, right? Wrong. 401ks are loaded with hidden fees and market risks that most people don't realize. According to 60 Minutes,
there are legal fees, trustee fees, transactional fees, stewardship fees, bookkeeping fees, finder's fees, and the list goes on and on.
And according to Forbes, the real cost of owning a mutual fund, which is what is found inside of most people's 401k plans, is 3.17% in fees every single year. And the average 401k balance at retirement will probably not be enough to provide you with a comfortable lifestyle during your golden years. If you take a look at this chart from Empower, one of our top 401k providers, you will notice that the average balance of a 401k as people near their 60s and into retirement is just $573,000. Now that may sound like a lot, but you have to subtract taxes. Most people don't think about paying taxes in retirement, but if your money is growing tax deferred, you will owe taxes on that money when you withdraw it. Now, if we plug all these numbers into a simple 401k calculator, we can actually see what this could net us in retirement. Now, I always go to moneychimp.com and just check out their 401k calculator because it's really easy to use. We can plug in the $573,000, and let's assume that we're earning an average 6.5% rate of return every single year in retirement, which reality is it could be significantly lower than that. And let's also subtract out 1.5% per year in fees, which means you're really only earning 5% per year in retirement. And as we saw earlier, you most likely are paying significantly higher than that in fees, but I know a few of you will probably disagree with me on that. So let's be conservative. Let's subtract out 25% per year in taxes, where it could be significantly higher. It just depends on the time that you retire. This is considering state and federal. And if your goal is to live for 30 years in retirement, that's going to give you a net income of just about $26,000 a year for 30 years, all through your golden years. Question: can you afford to live on that? Okay, so that doesn't sound super sexy. So what's the solution to all of this? Well, the key is it's time to consider diversifying into strategies that grow your money tax-free, like Roth IRAs and Roth 401ks if you're offered that, and even IULs, Index Universal Life, are fantastic accounts that can grow your money tax-free, but they do it without any stock market risk. Fixed index annuities are fantastic for money that you've already saved and you just want to protect and preserve it and not lose it if the market were to crash. And it's also important to diversify out of the stock market in general and look at things like real estate and even building a business to protect your money long term and hedge against risk. Now, wealthy people, keep in mind, they don't put all their eggs in one basket, and that's how they protect their money and their wealth long term. And mistake number 3, not understanding how debt can be used to build wealth. Debt is bad. Pay everything off as soon as possible. That is one of the biggest myths keeping people broke. First, let's take a look at the difference between good and bad debt. Good debt is used to support your financial growth and your goals long term, usually has much lower interest rates, and is used to build assets like real estate and even businesses. Where bad debt, on the other hand, it does not support your financial growth or goals because it's usually based on consumption. Rates are typically much higher on things like credit cards, car loans, and personal loans. According to Lending Club, the national average card debt among credit card holders with an unpaid balance in Q3 of 2024 is $7,236, up from $7,130 in Q1. The solution to this is we have to learn how to use other people's money, OPM, the way the wealthy do. Instead of rushing to pay off your mortgage, you could consider investing that money into an account that grows compound interest at a higher rate of return, all tax-free. And one of the ways the wealthy have sustained their wealth long term is they have learned to borrow against their assets instead of depleting them, because that keeps the value up and allows them liquidity long term. For example, celebrity CEOs like Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos don't withdraw from their stock portfolios. They borrow against it because borrowing against their stock allows them access to that money 100% tax-free. Now, the only problem with this strategy is you have to have millions and millions of dollars in your stock portfolio to borrow against it the way these celebrity CEOs do. But did you know that you can do the exact same thing with an IUL, an Index Universal Life, and you don't have to have millions of dollars in there to do it? More on this in the video linked in the description below. And mistake number 4, not having a financial plan and just winging it. I'll start saving and investing when I have more money to do it. The problem with that is you're never going to feel like you have enough money to get started. The reality is, if you don't have a financial strategy, you're always going to be reacting instead of building wealth. And most people only think about saving. They don't actually think about how to put their money to work for them to make them more money. The solution to this is you have to have some kind of a written wealth building strategy so that you can stay on track. And that needs to include your emergency fund and high yield savings account goals, which should be between 3 to 6 months worth of your living expenses. You also want to include your tax-free strategies like your Roth IRA, Roth 401k, and potentially IULs like we talked about earlier. And then you also want to include your passive income strategies, which could be real estate or building some kind of a business or a side hustle. Then you want to make sure that you automate your savings, because if it's not automated, you have a high chance of not being successful at saving into each one of these accounts every single month. Now, if we go back to MoneyChimp and we just take a look at their compound interest calculator, and if you are 25 years old and you started saving just $500 a month, $6,000 a year from ages 25 to 65, which is just 40 years, earning an average 8% rate of return, by age 65, you could have $1.678 million inside that account. But friends, if you waited just 10 years and didn't start saving till age 35, you're looking at best case scenario, $734,000. Time is of the essence when it comes to building wealth. And mistake number 5, not protecting your wealth. I don't need life insurance or an estate plan. That's for old people. If you don't protect your assets, you could lose all of it to taxes, lawsuits, or bad investments. Wealthy people prioritize protecting their assets first, and they use life insurance to protect their income and pass down wealth tax-free, trust and estate planning to keep their wealth within the family, and asset protection strategies to shield their wealth against lawsuits. When it comes to life insurance, according to LIMRA, while people continue to acknowledge the importance of life insurance, 70% say they know they should have coverage. Just half of US adults report owning it, and many more say they don't have enough coverage to protect their loved ones. The solution to this is you want to get your life insurance in place and enforced while you're young and you're healthy enough to qualify. The older you get, the more expensive the life insurance is going to be because you are closer to obviously passing away. So you want to make sure you lock in your term life insurance and your permanent life insurance while you're healthy enough to get approved. The permanent life insurance can be a great potential product for you to build tax-free wealth long-term that's accessible to you. More on the video linked in the description below. You also want to make sure that you have an estate plan done, even if you're not rich. If you're married, you have kids, or you own property, you want to get an estate plan intact because those are the only documents legally that can help bypass probate court if and when you pass away, and they tell the court exactly what you would want to have happen to all of your stuff when you do pass away. And another great form of protection is what we call market correction protection, which is basically a wrapper you can put around accounts where you've already accrued money for retirement, like 401ks and IRAs, but it guarantees that you won't lose any more money moving forward and that those accounts will only grow. Those are called fixed index annuities, and I have linked a video below that will talk more about how they work. Just think, if you were to pass away tomorrow, for how long can your family continue to afford to live the same lifestyle that they're currently living today? If you have asset protection in place and you have life insurance in place, your family will never have to worry how they could survive financially if your income were to stop tomorrow. Now that you know the 5 biggest mistakes people make when building wealth, you've got to take some action. I've linked 2 videos here that will tell you a little bit more, and make sure you subscribe so that you do not miss another video telling you what it takes to build wealth.